Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It's Wednesday evening and I have just sat and watched the speech by Liz Truss at the Tory conference. See? Notes. And really, there's not much point in the notes. Basically, what I'm thinking now is, many moons ago, or it seems like many moons ago, Boris Johnson was ousted as Prime Minister. Then there was this huge leadership competition that took forever. And all that time, normal people like you and me were watching energy bills going up, we were watching prices going up, we were watching a cost of living crisis happen, while politicians in the ruling party were out doing some leadership contest for weeks. Then eventually we got a new Prime Minister, Liz Truss, who came into power, was there for a few days, put in this growth plan thing that had a few things, but mainly what people latched onto was that she was going to cut the tax to the highest earners in the country by a whole 5%. Poorer people were only going to get 1% less on their tax, and then disappeared again. And you're like, excuse me? What? So then, they disappeared for conference season or whatever it is. And there was nothing heard from Liz Truss or Kwasi Kwarteng for ages, until eventually they sort of reappeared, and then it was like, okay, so it's a distraction, we're taking that away. Like, right, okay. So I was like, right, this, surely this is it done, and she'll tell us what's going to happen now. And just no. There was no telling us what was going to happen, because what she was telling us was going to happen and what will actually happen, I personally think, are going to be two completely different things. I mean, what's her name? Therese Coffey, the Deputy Prime Minister and Health Secretary. And she's saying, and this woman is going to make sure you get a doctor's appointment within 2 weeks, and make sure the ambulances are quicker, and make sure if you've got an urgent thing you get seen that day. Where is she getting all these staff? There isn't enough staff in the country to do that just now. So how this woman's going to magically do that, I do not know. Especially if they don't up the wages for the NHS, because the NHS is bleeding staff just now. Because it's not worth their while for what they put in, for what they get out. And the lack of appreciation from the government with their, we can't afford to pay the NHS anymore. But you can afford to up your bar bills, and you can afford to put your wages up. Are you having a laugh? Don't give me your rubbish. So yes, there's all that going on. So Therese Coffey must be some miracle worker to be able to do all that. And then there was the thing about, we're going to do growth, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And there was all these things getting thrown out. I don't even remember half of them. I was so peeved by the time I got there. Let me see what I wrote down. They're going to lower the tax burden and bring down debt as a portion of national income. How they're doing that without tax. But basically, it came down to the Conservatives are the party who are going to let you do what you want with your money and spend it how you want and stop taxing you so much. That is utterly no use if your energy costs and housing costs are so much that you're barely managing to put food on the table. This thing about it's all great, we should all be able to do what we want, and let's do these improvement zones and, deregulate planning and everything like that. Well, much as I would like to have more spending money, I'd also like to have a decent quality of life. I mean, the town that I live in had 1,000 houses built in 10 years. Now, that was just one developer's quango. So, there was a lot of smaller developments as well. And the community that I grew up in no longer exists. It's now a dormitory town. These investment zones, or whatever they're called, where the planning's going to get deregulated, laws are going to get deregulated, pay's going to get deregulated, what sort of quality of life are you going to have there? Smacks of the, sold my soul to the company store. So yeah, I just was not feeling that at all. It's very much like the Tory party is this, we're low taxes and you can fulfil your ambitions. Yes, absolutely you can. It'd be nice if minimum wage was a bit better so that while I'm trying to fulfil those ambitions I could still heat the house. Maybe feed myself sometimes. It just, weirdly enough, I have to say, credit where credit is due, when she first started the speech, I was like, that actually makes perfect sense. This is what we want. This is what we aspire to. But then when you look behind the covers of, we're going to build roads, we're going to do your broadband, we're going to make sure you can get a mobile phone signal wherever you are. Knock yourself out, lady. Let me see you try and do Glencoe having a mobile signal at a cost-effective rate. Up at the Sharp in Northumberland. Let's say you get a mobile signal there at a decent rate. You can't even get the radio there, for goodness sake. So there's not much chance of getting a mobile signal unless you put masts everywhere, and then it's going to cost a fortune. So these things, I think, have not been thought through. However, what I really want, what I would really like to see, is going to just get back to work. Going to just start sorting out this mess. Going to start working out how we're going to reduce these energy costs, because if I remember rightly, the report in today's newspaper is that OPEC has started to cut their production by 2 million barrels a day to ensure that they have spare storage capacity, or spare capacity in case of emergencies, and also to keep the price up, of course, to make sure that they keep their style of living to which they have become accustomed. So, the prices of everything is going up, and she's standing there going, yes, it's, we're aspirational, we want to get Britain moving and get people getting forward. They can barely feed themselves. Going to just sit down and sort it out. And, that's all I want from the politicians. Actually look and see what's happening in this country and get it so that everybody has a decent standard of living, instead of trumpeting some aspirational thing that very few will ever realise, which is great. If you're aspirational and if that's what you want, knock yourself out, mate. I have got no problem with that. What I do have a problem with is the people that are sweeping your streets, emptying your bins, looking after your granny, looking after you when you're in hospital. I have a problem with them not being acknowledged and not being supported, being seen as less, because they're not aspirational. They're going out to work to keep their family together. That's their aspirational. Not to be some high-flying, falutin person. We don't all want that. Sometimes we just want a nice family life. And I think the quicker politicians make that a standard, instead of making it easier for high aspirers. We don't all want to be high aspirers. Some of us just want to have a nice, relaxing life. So the quicker the politicians get back into that and start trying to level things out. I mean, they talked about levelling up so much. I don't need to be levelled up. I just need to be levelled out. See this all up here? Bring it down a bit. See all this down here? Bring it up a bit. And let's just have that we're not scared to put on the heating, that we're not scared to put on the lights, that we know we can feed ourselves that day. That's all I want. So, to all the politicians out there, and especially the politicians of the ruling body who have just had their conference, going to get back to work and going to get it fixed. That's all we want. We just want it that we can have a nice standard of living. So there you go. That's my take on 25 minutes of speech from Liz Truss, which didn't tell us anything different. I just want to not have to worry. That's all. So I will go and make myself a cup of tea, and I will catch you later.